UConn women took care of business in the Bahamas, but it was the balance of work and play that made it special. You're Locked On UConn.
You are Locked On UConn, your daily podcast on the UConn Huskies, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thanks for making Locked On UConn your first listen every day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Before we dive into today's show, just want to take a moment to thank you, the fans. We are all excited to have you on and excited to just tell you how much this fan base has grown. This podcast has grown exponentially. It's because of fans like you, especially my everydayers, who value that great UConn content. We're proud to say that we're the only daily podcast covering both UConn men's and women's basketball, the basketball capital of the world, Source, Connecticut. We're thrilled to bring you the coverage you deserve. To show the gratitude that we have, we're giving back to our community. We're donating 10% of our revenue to Husky Ticket Project, helping send kids to UConn games. We're also making monthly donations to Bleeding Blue for Good, supporting NIL initiatives that make sense and that make a difference. If you're enjoying the show, take a moment to subscribe, follow, and leave a review wherever you listen. Thanks again for making Locked On UConn your first listen every day. We couldn't do it without you. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet and you get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Okay, UConn had a business trip to the Bahamas, but the key to it was balancing the work and play. And let's talk about the Thanksgiving trip to the Bahamas. All these, whether it's you're in Maui or whether you're in the Bahamas, it seems like a really exciting trip for both teams. But Maggie Venoni from the Connecticut Insider provided some incredible insight into the team's experience, from their pool workouts to bonding moments to their dominance on the court. The Huskies went 2-0, taking home the Baha Women's Championship with wins over Oregon State and Ole Miss. But as Maggie highlighted, it wasn't just the victories that stood out. It was the discipline and the way this team grew together over the week. Gino said it best, quote, "We came down here for a reason, to do what we needed to do and win games. And at the same time, we're not back home doing this same old, same old." That mindset was evident in how this team approached every aspect of the trip. On game days, players were limited to just 30 minutes of direct sunlight to avoid fatigue and dehydration. Director of Sports and Performance, Andrea Hoodie, emphasized recovery workouts in the pool, ice baths in hotel bathtubs, and hydration routines to keep the players in peak condition. The result? Some of the best basketball UConn has played this season. Against Oregon State, they dominated defensively, taking a 42-19 lead into halftime. Ole Miss, they held them to just 5 for 32 shooting in the first half. The defense was incredibly relentless. The ball movement was seamless, and the chemistry was undeniable. Scott Rueck, head coach of Oregon State, summed it up perfectly. Every mistake you make, they will make you pay for it. There's a tenacity that they play with. Because of that, every moment you're under attack. That's the culture of UConn women's basketball: discipline, relentless focus. Look, the foundation of UConn's success, beyond the wins and the stats, the chemistry, the bonding. The trip to the Bahamas was a masterclass in that team bonding. With 5 newcomers and multiple players returning from injuries, this team is still figuring out how to gel. But as Paige Becker said, the chemistry has come together faster than we expected. That growth was evident on and off the court. Players shared hotel rooms, giving them a chance to connect in ways they hadn't before. AZ Fudd talked about how rooming with Sarah Strong helped them bond. I just feel like I know her a lot better now, and that goes a long way on court. The team had movie nights, explored the resort together, even stayed up late to watch UConn men's game in the resort sportsbook with Gino, his wife Kathy, and the coaching staff. Sorry you guys had to witness that. The highlight of the trip, Thanksgiving Day, the Huskies ventured out to feed pigs on a nearby island, a moment Paige Beckers will never forget, being attacked by one of the pigs, but living to tell the tale, she joked. Later, they celebrated with a Thanksgiving dinner at the resort, another moment that strengthened their bond. But let's not forget the chemistry is translating directly to the court, right? Against Oregon State, UConn dished out 25 assists on 28 made field goals. Fudd had a career high 5 assists, while 8 of the 11 players scored. The defense was just as connected, with seamless switches, constant communication, and relentless pressure. This team doesn't just play for themselves, they're playing for each other. As AZ explained, Coach talked about chemistry and how it's important, not just in reading each other's minds. A month ago, I didn't think that was possible. Now, it's almost second nature. Gino always says trips like these help understand his team's identity. What he learned this week is clear. This team thrives on discipline, selflessness, and playing for one another. Paige Becker summed it up best. This is the way UConn has always played, assisting, being selfless, passing up good for great. No one's bigger than the team. All right. I wanted to highlight Maggie's piece because she's going to join us later this week. I met Maggie a couple Fridays ago in Greensboro. Fantastic writer. Emily is still going to jump on the show from time to time, as we'll have other guests as well. But really wanted to highlight some incredible beat reporters that UConn women's basketball has, and a fantastic piece. If you're not following her, go check her out on Connecticut Insider. She'll be here Wednesday or Thursday, I believe. So be looking for that. When we return, we're going to talk about the incredible depth of women's college basketball and how it's never been greater. After the break. Okay, guys, get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. Because right now, new customers can bet $5, get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of a game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more at the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, you're back on Locked On UConn. From time to time, when the schedule allows it, we'll do these deeper dives into the women's basketball world. And right now, the depth of women's college basketball is at an unprecedented era of growth and depth. What we're seeing across the sport is a testament to the investment programs are making in women's basketball, following the blueprint set by Gino and UConn. It's no longer just about one or two dominant programs. We're seeing competitiveness spread throughout the rankings. With teams across conferences stepping up to challenge the traditional powerhouses. This is no longer a top-heavy sport. It just isn't. It's wide open, and it's going to get better and better every year. So take this year's Thanksgiving Feast Week as an example. Tournaments in the Cayman Islands, Cancun, Las Vegas, and the Bahamas showcase just how deep and competitive the landscape has become. Programs like Michigan State, Georgia Tech, and Kentucky made statements, while traditional powers like Notre Dame faced some adversity, dropping a game to TCU and Utah. It's proof that the talent pool is deeper than ever, and the gap between the elite and the rest is shrinking. And UConn is that standard bearer. Let's start with the program, again, that has the sustained success. Gino and the Huskies have built this dynasty based on what this team is: culture, unrelenting commitment to excellence, bringing in the best players that are unselfish. We just talked about the chemistry they created in the Bahamas. What's fascinating about this current era is how UConn is still thriving despite the rise of so many challengers. They haven't won a title, but they keep going to Final Fours, and they're still knocking on the door. The recent trip to the Bahamas showcased not just their talent, but their ability to adapt and grow in the face of increased competition. None more evident than when Ole Miss punched back and started the third quarter on a 15-0 run, and UConn quashed that and ended up winning the game by double digits. Maggie Vanoni, who will be with us in a couple days, reported that UConn's approach was a balance of focusing with the team bonding, but it was a perfect example of why they remain one of the best in the business. I think you can see that kind of adaptation in Gino's thought process. I think he was quoted in Maggie's piece as saying, we're going to give these guys a little bit of a leash. They essentially, they're going to be treated like young adults. We're not going to micromanage everything they do. And I think that's part of what has made him the greatest coach of all time, is the ability to adapt. But the rise of depth across the country, it's striking. And how many programs have taken pieces of what UConn has done and applied it to their own development? Look at Kentucky, a team that's embracing defense and size to start the season 7-0. They become a dominant shot blocking team, leading the nation in blocks per game. Clara Strack and Tiona Key have added a rim protecting presence that makes the Wildcats a formidable opponent, even in a loaded SEC. Then there's Michigan State under Coach Robin Frolick. The Spartans have transformed into a defensive powerhouse while still capitalizing on their offense. They're forcing turnovers, dominating the glass, and turning extra possessions into points. Their 8-0 start is tied for the best in school history, and it's clear they're on the rise in a very increasingly competitive Big Ten. Then there's a team like Georgia Tech, who doesn't really have a traditional name in women's college basketball. They just really haven't been a part of that conversation, and they're making noise. They had a win over Oregon during their feast week, which highlighted how possession focused they are, scrappy. They're one of the best offensive rebounding teams in the country right now, and their ability to create second chance opportunities has made them a dangerous opponent for anyone. And I think what makes this era special is that it's not just about the talent, it's about the resources, coaching, the strategy that's been in play, the analytics that have become a big part of all sports. Programs are investing in those in recruiting, facilities, analytical data, and to show the young women that on their teams and the staff in ways that they haven't really seen before. Schools are hiring elite strength and conditioning coaches in general, like Kenny Brooks of Kentucky or Robin Frolick of Michigan State. All these coaches are building programs that can compete at a highest level and sustain it. That's the biggest thing. You can always have the one outlier year, but the sustained success is what we're looking for. Let's not forget the role of the players themselves. I mean, these talented athletes are spreading out across the country instead of clustering at just a few schools, which is honestly, as a fan of the sport, it's nice to see. I'd love for UConn to get everybody, but we're seeing programs like Iowa State, TCU, Georgia Tech land top recruits that UConn or South Carolina or Tennessee or Notre Dame would typically get. And they've immediately elevated that program and created that competitiveness that just wasn't there before. So there's also a larger depth of talent. And that's what makes women's college basketball so exciting right now. And even if we go, because we've done this a few times, and we're going to talk about Gandy Malou-Mamel later in this program, and then tomorrow we're having Karen Quinn on. So the talent outside of the states is immense. You can find players anywhere now. So that's the beauty of this. Every game feels unpredictable. Every tournament showcases a new contender. And while programs like UConn, South Carolina, LSU remain at the top, there's no guarantee they'll stay there unchallenged. And I think that's why we're seeing Gino double down so much on getting talent from around the world, because it's so competitive that you may not get the Agat Maker or the Laura Sumfai went to Stanford. You know, you're going to get some misses. And that's what makes this season and the seasons to come so compelling. So, and even in this era of parity, and I would call it that, it's getting to that point where you could see a higher seeded team in the NCAA tournament make a run to the Final Four because they just have better talent, or they started slow, or maybe they're just coming back from injury, all of that. UConn remains a standard bearer. The Huskies aren't just competing, they're thriving. And I think the new normal for UConn women's basketball fans needs to be that this team is competing for national championships with players like obviously Paige and Azzi, but the new stars, Sarah Strong, KK, Ashlyn, Morgan Shelley, Ali Zabal, all the players, Cadence, everybody. Those that are coming down the pike. I just think that's the biggest thing, that UConn is still UConn, but UConn hasn't changed. The sport around it has. So I think that's the biggest takeaway from this, is that UConn can still win and compete for national championships, but they're probably not going to dominate the way they used to because the sport has grown, and that's okay. Programs like Auburn, Kentucky, Michigan State, I love it. Love if they emerge as legitimate contenders. That's the beauty of where women's college basketball is today. The bar has been raised, and everyone is stepping up to meet it. So I think we've really kind of touched on a few things. I think the programs across the country are adopting UConn's blueprint, investing in all of this, the talent, the discipline, just essentially wanting to do this. It's never been about if you could do it, if you want to. And I think, honestly, I think a lot of it has to do with, I don't want to sound like I'm being, this isn't about altruism or like, it was about time that women's college basketball got the due it deserved. It sure has, but the reality is we still live in a capitalist society, and most people are making decisions based on dollars and cents. And so the majority of investment that's being made in women's college basketball is because they're seeing that there's actual revenue that can be made, and that's a part of it. You invest to make money. You don't invest just to be out of the goodness of your heart. So I think you're going to see more and more of that as the popularity of women's college basketball keeps to ascend. All right, when we return, we're having Kieran Quinn on tomorrow for a full-length interview on Gandy Malou-Mamel's incredible story. So we're going to do a quick little recap on how she got to UConn. She signed officially to join the Huskies next season. It's a remarkable journey of her and her family immigrating to Ireland, and how Kieran saw that and wanted to help. We're going to talk about that coming up after the break. There's nothing like being at a game, feeling the energy of the crowd, the sound of the sneakers squeaking on the court, and the pure adrenaline when your favorite team hits that buzzer beater. Whether it's spotting a celebrity courtside, hearing the roar of the fans, or simply being a part of the action, live sports are unbeatable. You can't replicate them at home. And it's not just sports, concerts, comedy shows, theater performances. It's all better live. Game Time. How do we get this stuff? It takes the hassle out of finding tickets. Game Time Picks filters out all the fluff, so you just get the best deals on great seats. You're not just endlessly scrolling like you're looking for a Netflix movie. I used Game Time recently to help some friends so they could get some tickets, and they got a super deal. It helped me lock in amazing seats at a fraction of the price. For me, I don't need them, so I always pass along my savings to other people. The app shows you exactly what your seat view looks like before you buy. No surprises, just confidence in your purchase. And with their all-in pricing, you see the total upfront cost, no hidden fees, no last-minute tickets. Game Time has your back with lowest price guarantee. They do a view from your seat, which is fantastic. You get credited 110% if you find a cheaper price. So there's literally no reason why not to try this. Get great peace of mind. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. So what time is it, guys? It's Game Time. Get your tickets today and experience the best in live entertainment. All right, you're back on Locked On UConn. I'm your host, Mark Zanetto. Look, Kieran Quinn's going to join us tomorrow, and we're going to do a really in-depth interview with him on his story, Gandy Malu-Mamel, and how it relates to her coming to UConn. But I want to do just a reminder of how this journey all started. A tale of raw talent, determination, and unprecedented milestones. The first time Kieran Quinn saw Gandy Malu-Mamel, it was entirely by accident. Quinn, a former Irish national basketball player and Division II athlete at Post University in Waterbury, works as a bridge for Irish basketball players hoping to make it to the United States. He was reviewing film for another player when Gandy caught his attention. And he quoted, "I'm like, who the hell is that?" What stood out wasn't polish or skill, but her sheer athleticism. A 6'5" player with a near 7-foot wingspan, Malu-Mamel was running the floor like a guard, her hand outstretched for the ball. Despite her raw game, Quinn saw something special, something transformative. And as he told himself in that moment, to hell with this, you're coming to America. Gandy's story is remarkable, not just because of where she's going, but because of where she comes from. Growing up in Ireland, a country where basketball falls far behind soccer, rugby, traditional Gaelic sports, and we're going to ask Kieran about that. Her exposure to the game was limited. She discovered basketball by chance during a PE class and immediately fell in love with its fast pace. Her early development, however, was unconventional. With limited resources in Ireland, Gandy learned the basics through club scrimmages rather than focused drills. For years, she played for fun, but at age 15, something clicked. She wanted more. She dreamed of playing professionally. To make that happen, she knew she needed to leave Ireland. And that's where Quinn came in. After confirming her potential during a workout in Ireland, Quinn not only took Gandy under his wing, but hosted her in his home in the United States. He warned her it wouldn't be easy, saying, "This is not a joke. There will be hard days." And Gandy embraced the challenge. Her parents, refugees from the Democratic Republic of the Congo, understood the value of opportunity in a new country. Just as Ireland provided a fresh start for them, they saw the United States as a chance for their daughter to pursue her dreams. And before we get into making her, her story, I have to share something that is very personal to me, and something that I absolutely am proud of is that this story is great because any immigrant story where you come to the States to find the American dream is a wonderful, it's just a wonderful opportunity. And my mom had that opportunity when she was 9 years old. She came to the States from Cuba. And to me, she embodies what there's a struggle. There's a longing for your home that you remember. And even for her as a young child to come to the States by herself, by the way, with no parents, and kind of be taken in by people much like Kieran, but definitely family members, and to be reunited with her parents later in life is what essentially makes for an incredible story. And whether Gandy is a incredible player or whether she is just a nice anecdotal conversation, these stories are 100% should be talked about. And anytime I see something like this, I 100% I'm gonna talk through it. Like later in the week, we're gonna talk to a young man potentially that is looking to play football at UConn, that lives in Hawaii and is a cancer survivor, and is it's a beautiful human interest story. So while this is always going to focus on sports and how they relate to our lives, I just wanted to kind of throw that out there. So, pivot back to Gandy. When she arrived in the United States, she had this raw athleticism and lacked the skills and experience of players who grew up in the American basketball system. Yet she worked tirelessly to develop her game. She played at Gill St. Bernard's in New Jersey, competed for the Jersey Gems in the AAU circuit. At the Clash of Clubs tournament in Dallas, her performance against powerhouse Philly Rise caught the attention of UConn's legendary coaching staff. UConn's interest wasn't immediate. They wanted to see if Gandy truly wanted to be a Husky. Gino and his staff approached her recruitment with honesty and transparency, while Gandy appreciated all of it. They didn't sugarcoat things. She said, they told me what I needed to hear to get better. The decision to commit to UConn wasn't difficult. From the moment she came to the U.S., Gandy knew she wanted to play for the Huskies, a program synonymous with excellence and proven pipeline to the professional level. Now she's poised to make history as the first Irish-born player to suit up for UConn. It's just a story bigger than basketball, guys. Her journey isn't just a milestone for her and her family. It's a watershed moment for the Irish basketball community. As Quinn puts it, this story is the biggest in Irish basketball history. Boys have gone Division I, but no one has reached this level for a program like UConn. Her commitment is proof of what's possible when raw talent meets opportunity. But as Quinn points out, she's going to UConn because she's good enough, not because of him or anybody else. Even with her commitment secured, Gandy's journey is far from over. She's working to refine her skills, especially her shooting, so she's ready to compete at the D1 level. But if her growth over the past 2 years is any indication, the Huskies are getting a player who's only scratching the surface of her potential. For Gandy, being Irish is an integral part of her identity. While she acknowledges she may not look like the stereotypical Irish player, she's proud to represent her home country on the biggest stage in college basketball. Quote, Ireland was a safe haven for me and my family. I've always worn the flag proudly and will when I go to UConn. Gandy's story is a testament to resilience and the power of believing in your dreams. It's also a reminder of how much of an impact mentors like Kieran Quinn can have. As Gandy prepares to blaze her trail at UConn, Quinn hopes she'll one day pay it forward for another Irish player. This is just an amazing story, guys. It's about family, mentorship, breaking barriers. Gandy Malou-Mamel's journey from Ireland to Storrs is a story of opportunity and going after that opportunity, and it will undoubtedly inspire others. So Kieran Quinn's going to join us tomorrow. We'll dive deeper into her story and what makes her so special and why he believes UConn doesn't yet realize just how much of a gem they found in Gandy. Don't miss it. This has been another episode of Locked On UConn. I'm Mark Snetto, asking you to stay locked on, stay connected, and to remember, it's not just about getting it done. It's about doing it in a way it can't be done any better. That's our goal every day. Go Huskies.